Hey everyone, in this video, I did a 3x3 average of 5 with Jacky. We did the same scrambles and sort of raced each other. So today, I'll be reconstructing our solutions as well as critiquing the solutions and trying to improve on them. I would also like to say that we weren't really solving at our best here, so excuse us on that. It does mean I get to critique more and show more stuff though. Don't forget to join the Discord server in the description, as I'm trying to build a small community in there. Alright, let's get into the solves. Here's our first solve. The scramble should be on the screen. So on this scramble, we have our white cross pieces here, 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 and here in the back. So what Jacky does is he starts off with his cross by doing R prime D2 F prime R prime, and then he rotates this way for his first pair. He then goes straight into this green-red pair here, into the back like this, and that sets up a free pair right here. So what he does is he puts it here, and he decides to orient some yellow edges for the top layer by doing a sledge to insert this one. Next, he goes for this green-orange pair, but he doesn't see anything, so he rotates, he sees this, and then he rotates again to solve this. For his final pair, the pieces are here, so he does a U and he pairs it up with a U2. Now it's here. And then he puts it here and he inserts it with another U2. After F12, he just goes straight into doing this OLL, which is like this. And then he gets RB perm. A few things went wrong in this solve. So first of all, the cross is good because it's like low move count. He does R prime, D2, F prime, R prime. However, he goes for his first pairs, which are here. Obviously you can see them, but he does it on the right side. And usually you don't want to fill up your right side pairs because then you have two here and it gets kind of awkward. So I would say if you started off here, which makes for really good finger tricks, by the way. So you start off like this, and then you insert the blue piece, D2, insert red, insert this one. Now you get your pieces here, and you can do multiple continuations. You can solve this one first, which makes this into a 3-mover. Or if you solve this one first, it makes this into a 3-mover, and you can insert it here. And then you get these pieces here. So then you can go straight into these ones. Also, I noticed on your last pair, when you were doing the U2 to pair this up, your hands were kind of here and you did the U2 with like straight fingers like this. And you don't want to do that. You want to keep your fingers bent like this and use the fingertips to turn the layer. If you play piano or violin, you'll know that putting your fingers like this is not good because it makes for less accuracy and it's just not as good. So if you do this, it'll make your U2s more quick and precise, and then you can insert the pair. For my solution, I put orange top, white front, and our cross pieces are here. And I was mainly looking at this pair. I didn't really spend that much time on my inspection. I just kind of went for this and hesitated a little bit. So I insert this one first, and then I do F prime, R2, FR to insert these two, D2, and I have this one here. So I put the pieces here, and I solve it with a wide R prime. From here, I know that this edge is solved and then this corner goes with it. So I was gonna do keyhole, but then I saw this pair. So there was probably some hesitation here, but I decided to insert this pair with a sledge so that it makes this corner not have white on the top. from here, I also saw this free pair, but I decided to solve the keyhole first because I was tracking it the whole time. And I know that when I'm done solving this corner will stay here and this edge will just go right next to it. So I'll have to solve this one with R, U prime, R prime. So I insert this, D2, and then I'd solve this one with R, U prime, R prime. It makes this. And then I see that my edges are wrapping around this corner. So I do this VHLS. And then here, this is ZBLL. For my solution, my cross started out like this, which isn't the best finger tricks, but now I found that there's actually a pretty nice yellow cross, and our pieces are here, 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 and here. So we can insert all of these three at once by doing R, F, and now we have these two here. And there's actually our two F12 pieces here to go into here. We have green, orange. And so we can actually cancel by doing R, L prime, B into this one. So we do L prime, U2, L prime. And that also inserts this corner here. So we can go straight into that. And here's our keyhole edge. So we can go straight into that as well. Now we have this one, so we can insert it like this. And then we get ZBLS and ZBLL. So for this solve, I would say that I need to work on my inspection and look for better solutions, and also just work on recognizing my F12 pairs and my ZBLL.
8 seconds.
For the second solve, the scramble will be on the screen. Okay, so for Jacky's second solve, we have yellow top, blue front, and our cross pieces are all pretty close to each other right here. So he starts off by doing F, R, D2, F prime, D prime. So now our cross is solved. Now we have this pair here planned in inspection. So we go into doing R prime, U, R, and then he rotates to insert it in the front. And this is the first pretty bad thing, is just having the pair in the front. So he inserts it anyway, and now he sees this pair next, and he goes into doing, he does a U, and he rotates, he pairs this up, and then he rotates back and inserts it with a U2. Again, not good. It solves diagonal pairs, which hinders look ahead, and he rotated twice to solve one pair. So just keep that in mind, it's not very good. Then he goes into doing this pair, which is logical, it's next. So he puts his corner here, and he solves this into here, like that. And then this one, rotate and insert it. And then here, we have our edge in here and our corner back here. So he pairs it up with R, U2, R prime, and goes into VHLS, which goes like this. Then he doesn't know pi ZB, so he goes into doing the regular OCLO, and then he gets A perm. So for this, he solved this first pair into the front, which is not good. So what he could have done instead was F, R, D2, F prime, D2, and then rotate this way to force it into back left and solve it like this. It also gives him many options at here to solve these. So this one can go into the back, and then this one, and then this one, and then, yeah. So I would say for this one, you should just try to insert pairs into back slots more. Try to avoid diagonal pairs, and also try not to rotate twice for a pair. Learn edge orientation. So for some basic stuff like this one, this edge is oriented because this top color matches either the front or the back. Something like this would be misoriented because the top does not match the front or the back. So then for this one, you can rotate. For my solution, I start the same way as Jacky. So again, cross pieces are here. So I start off by doing FR, D2, F prime, D prime. And then I also start off the same with this pair by doing R prime, U, R. But now, instead of putting it here by rotating this way, I rotate this way and I insert the pair. For my second pair, I choose this red-blue one and I lock up so hard on this pair. But what I do is I take this out and then I insert it here. And then we have our last two pairs, both on the right side. So we have this one here and we have this one here. And for some reason, I chose to do this one in the front first. This one would be way better because it goes into the back and then this edge stays in the top. But I go into this one first. And then I get this one. So I pair it up and then I orient my edges by doing U prime. And when I put this in, I also insert this edge into here with F prime, U, F, and then R. And then here's ZBLL. And I spent like a whole 3 seconds trying to recognize the ZBLL, doing like U, move, hesitation, things like this. This could have been like a 6-second solve, but I took way too long to recognize ZBLL, but this is the algorithm. So for this one, I would say I need to work more on just turning smooth during F2L to avoid pausing or locking up, and then also practicing a lot of ZBLL.
12 seconds.
For our third solve, Jacky starts out with orange top, yellow front, and our yellow cross pieces are here, 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 and here. So he starts off by doing white R prime, F prime, and then inserting these two. And then here, he takes out this flipped edge from the back to pair with this corner. And this is not a good idea because with your first moves, first F12 moves, you're not really solving anything. So he starts off by doing this, he rotates, and he solves this pair into the back. And then next, he goes for this 11 move pair into the back, which is again not good. And he does it like this. He puts it here, he inserts the corner, and then he solves this one like this. Then next, he has this pair, so he puts it here and solves it like this. And then rotates for this pair, so he solves it like this. And then we have OLL, and then we have PLL. Some improvements we could make to the solve. Let's start out. So first, the cross is pretty good, very low move count. And then from here, instead of taking this edge out and then solving this, I would have went into solving this pair or this pair. So like this pair, we could solve by doing F and then inserting into the back. Or we could solve this one by doing this and then we can insert it here. We can even insert it with a sledge so that this gets preserved and stays oriented. And then we get this continuation here. Not the greatest, but I feel like it would still be better than the other one because it has a lot less moves. So for this one, I'm assuming he didn't get to planning first pair in inspection because he took out an edge and then solved it. So I would say work more on planning first pair and finding a good first pair. And then also for the awkward cases like that 11 mover or any of those weird cases, find better algorithms for them because they're definitely out there and better. For my solution, I start off with white cross, primarily looking at this free pair here, and our cross pieces are here, 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 and here. So I start off by doing a U2 to preserve this pair. I insert orange, D prime, R2 to insert blue. And then to solve this one, I move this pair out of the way here, and then I do L prime, wide U, L prime. This is not a very good solution, and I'll show a better one later. So then I rotate this way, I insert this one, and from here, you might see that this is a free pair, but I didn't see this during the solve, so I saw this one. It was the first thing I saw, so I did a lefty sledge, and I inserted that. And then here, I see this pair, so I rotate, and I solve this one. And we have last pair, so edge is here solved, or corner I mean, here solved, and edge is here. So I do a lefty sledge into VHLS, because I don't know full ZBLS yet. And then for ZBLL, again, I do this like U2, U thing hesitation, and then I go into the algorithm. So for this solve, multiple things I could work on is looking deeper into inspection and look for more efficient ways to solve things. And then of course, again, ZBLL recognition and learning ZBLS. But anyways, here we have this improved solution. So I was experimenting with this scramble because I noticed that I was wasting a lot of stuff, and I was actually talking to Jacky about this scramble, and I found a better solution. So here it is. So again, we start with the same U2 to put the pair here, solve these two, and then again move this pair here. But then here, instead of just solving this one with L prime wide U L prime, we can actually cancel into also inserting this. So if we do L prime U here, we can do like a sledge thing and then insert this whole block into the back, F. Then we go into this keyhole here to prevent doing diag pairs, because I could do this, but we have this one here. So we do this, and then we do like a D2 while rotating. So it's like wide UD, insert this one. And then here we have last slot. Again, I don't know full ZBLS, so instead I take this edge out. Again, we do a rotation, and we solve this one into the back with an S at the start and an S prime at the end. And then we have ZBLL.
12 seconds.
This is the fourth solve, and the scramble will be on the screen again. So for Jacky's fourth solve, we have our cross pieces here, here, and here. So we start off by doing R prime F, D prime, insert red with R2, D prime R. Now here we have this F2L pair, which goes into here. And this time, he does do a U, rotates, and inserts it into the back. So that's really nice. And we have this pair here. You can kind of see it as we insert this one. This is really nice so far. And then he takes this one, splits it up, rotates, inserts. Now we have this one. He puts it here, splits it, and then does this, rotates, and inserts it. Now, we have our final pair, which he goes straight into really quickly. And then here, we get this OLL. This is OLL 56, I think. And some people, most people would start doing EO to ZB here. So that's what he does. He puts it here, and he does EO. And then we get this nice TZBLL. One thing I noticed is that on this last pair, when he splits it up, here he could have added an S prime here and insert it to not have that OLL. He wouldn't know HZBLL, but I feel like this is better than having to do EO to ZB. For my solution, I do a pretty similar thing, but I'm watching this pair here because these two pieces are connected. So I first start out by doing an L before my cross to preserve this. I insert these two like this, and then here I do D2 while regripping, and then I solve blue, and then I solve red like this. Then I go into this one, rotate this way, so it goes into the back, and I see this pair next. So I do a D prime and I rotate again. I insert this into here and do D. Now for our last pairs, we have a kind of complicated situation because we have an oriented one here, an oriented edge. But then also, if we solve this one becomes weird. So when I was in the solve, like doing all the rushing and stuff, I went into this one because I didn't want to insert this into here and get a horrible last case. So I took this out, which then I realized it forced a really bad case again. But anyways, I inserted this one, and then here I could have rotated it again to do an actual ZBLS algorithm, but I didn't. So I solved this one into a pair, and here I did VHLS. And then here we have an anti-soon, and I actually learned this ZBLL pretty recently, and well, now I know it, but at the time of this solve, I was just really worried about pausing for ZB. So instead, I just went over here and did that, and then I have a V perm. Here on our last slot into last layer, if I had done this anti-soon ZBLO, the solve would have actually been faster because even if I did pause, this is a really nice algorithm, so it would have been faster. Also, for this last one, I could have done this one first by doing something like this, and then go into this ZBLS like this, and it would have gave me a nice ZBLL. So overall for this solve, I would say I just need to work on my decision making in F2L. Again, smoother turning so I can have better look ahead, and then also my ZBLL.
12 seconds.
What? For this last solve, Jacky decides to go yellow cross because all the pieces are pretty close to each other. So he inserts blue first, and then here he does some hesitation like U, R prime, or something like that. And then he does R prime, D prime, F, R to complete our cross. Then he sees this pair first. Not sure if he planned an inspection, but it was nice. So he did this, rotate, insert, and then here he solves this one by doing this. So put the corner here and then solve this. And that whole time that you're doing this, you can kind of see this pair here. So that's a good look ahead. He can go straight into this one. And here, he sees this one. So he goes straight into it. He does U, R, U prime, R prime. And then he inserts it with F moves, which is nice because then he avoids having to rotate this way or this way. So he just does that. And here he does U, U2, hesitation. He does this OLL like this. And then he has J A perm, and he does it like this with this algorithm. But then here on his AUF, he kind of starts letting go of the cube, and he tries to do an AUF with his thumb, but he ends up turning 2 layers, so it becomes a DNF when he stops the timer. So I would say for this one, I would say it's better if here you kind of keep your grip on the cube and then reposition your thumb to here, do an L, and then push U prime, just so that you don't have to have your thumb like accidentally like turn the E layer or something. So for this solution, cross is good, and then he does his first pair, not bad. This one, and then here on his third pair, he does like the L prime U2L, and again, he does his U2 with like hyper extended fingers like this, which is not good. Again, you should be using your fingertips, and then the rest of the solution is pretty okay. So for my solution, I chose to go white cross, and all of the pieces are pretty close here, and there's also this free pair here which I end up using. So first we do R prime, and I insert these two with L prime, ring finger F prime, L2. Then it's D prime R prime, and you can see that there's a pair here, and when we insert this one, it actually pairs this one up. So I went here, and actually these two will end up going into the top layer as a free pair when I insert this. So I do U prime, insert that, and then here I hedge this one, and then I rotate. And for some reason I do a U, which is not necessary and actually makes the solution worse. So then I end up taking this one out, pairing it, and I do U2, and then I do VHLS, which is just S prime, insert the pair S. And then here, I do a U2 to see if I know it, because I can't recognize it from here. And actually now I do know the ZBLL, but before I didn't. So I went into a left soon, and then here's GC perm, but I kind of think it's like an A perm or something, so I start like regripping or something. But then I realized, nope, it's a GC perm, so I kind of do this and I recover it into the R2F2 algorithm. Here on last layer, this ZBLL would have been really nice because it's like this and it's really fast. But then also, if on here, on my last pair, I didn't do that U and I kept the line this way, it would have made this ZBLS better, because when we do this, it ends up being a sledge case rather than that 5 move case. And then we also get a really nice pi ZBLL, which goes like this. So once again, I would say I need to work on my ZBLL recognition, as I'll be using ZB method. And also I need to work on my F2L and hesitating less, so that I can do the most efficient solutions. That'll be it for this video. Again, you should try out the scrambles. I'll probably put them in the description and the pinned comment, and see if you get any better solutions than what I found. And remember, join the Discord server. We're gonna start a community in there, and yeah, we get to just talk to each other, and you get to ask me questions about videos or ZB or anything like that.